Hey, nice to meet you. Thank you for reviewing the website with me. I can't hear you very well. Let me just make one adjustment on my end that should really help me hear you better. I want to open this. Switch to voice. Okay, try saying something now. I can hear you much better now. Hey everyone. My name is Guy and I've been living with severe tinnitus and hearing loss for over a decade now. I received multiple requests from you guys to literally demonstrate to you how I go throughout my day and making sure that my focus and productivity remains high throughout the day. As always, when I receive multiple requests from you guys, I take it seriously and I deliver. What you saw in the beginning was a really quick demo of how I improved the sound quality during an important video call to make sure that I can hear the other side and communicate well. In this video I will show you many more very useful tips just like that, and I will explain to you how I manage my own tinnitus symptoms in order to make sure that my productivity and focus remains the same throughout the entire day. Everything I'm going to show you today is obviously based on my phone and my applications and my hearing aids. What I'm trying to show you is strategies and ideas on how to manage tinnitus symptoms so they don't overwhelm you. The specific applications that I use and the specific hearing aids are really not the point here. You can accomplish everything I'm going to show you today with your own hearing aids and your own setup. So let's just start with the morning. For me in the morning, for the first half an hour, I don't listen to anything. It's really important for me to be focused and get into the groove of the day to come, so if I start listening to things right at the beginning of the day, it just overloads my brain in tinnitus, and it typically just adds up with tinnitus spiking up too early in the day. After about half an hour to an hour where I'm just focused and working, that's when I start listening to sound therapy. Now let me explain to you why I actually do that. Just 1 week ago, I didn't listen to any sound therapies until I jumped into a video call with multiple people, and it was a really important call. What I felt immediately as the meeting was starting and different people were talking is that my tinnitus was spiking and I just couldn't focus on what people are saying. So what I found for me is that it's really important to listen to really calming sound therapies to kind of synthesize my brain and get it ready to be in meetings. Typically in the morning I like to listen to like nature sounds or ocean sounds, really calming and mild sounds. That typically do the trick, and by the time that I get into meetings, my brain is kind of ready and my tinnitus is not spiking. Now let me give you a couple of more examples of how I manage my tinnitus and making sure that my focus remains good using different scenarios. For example, we talked about a video call and I showed you how I use the software to adjust the sound settings and stream better quality sound straight into my hearing aid so that I can communicate effectively. If I receive a regular phone call, I can do the same thing on the phone. I can open the equalizer on the phone and then use that to adjust the sound settings if the sound settings are not good for that call. I can also open the hearing aid application and change settings there to improve my sound setting as well. So basically, if the call is coming through my cell phone, I use the software and applications on my cell phone to adjust things if I need to, but if I'm doing a web meeting or a video call on the computer, then I use software and applications on the computer to adjust my settings and making sure that the sound quality that is streamed from the computer into my hearing aid is the best one I can get. Now let me give you an example of what I did when all the settings didn't help me. So just the other day I was in a meeting with 3 different people, and each one of them was literally from a different part of the world. It was really hard to hear one of them, and I was really struggling to follow what he was saying. For those situations, what I do is activate live caption. Live captions is a feature that most phones and computers today are supporting, and what it does, it literally gives you captions of what's being spoken at that moment. I found that when the sound quality of one of the speakers on a meeting, or all of them, it's just really hard for me to follow, I just activate that feature and then I'm able to follow exactly what everybody is saying and I'm not missing any details of the meeting. The last thing that I want to share with you at this point is how I prevent my tinnitus from spiking up. What I've noticed for me specifically is that if I'm exposed to sounds without any breaks, then my tinnitus will just spike up. So let's say that I just finished a 1 hour meeting or a 2 hour meeting. Right after that, if I continue to listen to sounds or to meetings, what will happen to me is that the sound of my tinnitus is going to spike up to the point where I can't focus on anything. So after a long meeting, or if I was listening to music for a long time, I must get a break. And this is probably true for most of you. If your tinnitus is significant, you will notice that the more you're exposed to music or sounds or noise, your tinnitus is going to start getting louder and louder and louder. To stop that from happening, what I do is I just remove myself from the environment where I work. I take my dog and we just go on a walk for half an hour. What that does, it provides you with two different things. It's both a mental break from the stress of the meetings or from the stress of noise and sound, and it also serves as an auditory break to let your auditory system just relax and calm down until it resets itself again. So this tip is really about taking breaks after being exposed to sounds or noise for a long period of time. I'm really excited to announce that finally I added a bunch of premium hearing aids and over-the-counter hearing aids that you guys can get with a big discount. The premium hearing aids page will show you a list of the top brands and the top hearing aids that you can get right now, and all of them are coming with local audiologist service. The over-the-counter hearing aids page will show you hearing aids that actually I reviewed on this channel, and you can see exactly what were my testing results for each one of those hearing aids. And when you click on those hearing aids, you will be taken to a place where you can purchase those hearing aids for the best price available at that moment. Now let's talk about being outside and being exposed to other type of noises. For example, traffic noise or wind noise, or other things that you can't control. So let's say that during lunchtime you took the dog and you went on a walk outside, but as you are walking in different places, people are trying to speak to you. Knowing that I'm going to be in that environment, I set my hearing aids before I leave the house to a mode where I can be more successful in that environment. It doesn't really matter what hearing aids you have. Most of them have some level of noise reduction and speech focus that allow you to focus straight in front of you and reduce noises from the outside. So having a program where you activate noise reduction and speech focus before you leave the house will help you communicate well in that situation. It will also allow you to manage and reduce those noises that are not helpful for you. So the tip here really is to switch to a different program or setting if you know you're gonna need it next. So let me give you a real life scenario that just happened to me the other day. It was actually while I was walking my dog, and my hearing aids were already set up for that environment. While I was walking in a park very close to me, I vaguely heard somebody calling my name. I turned around and it was one of my neighbors talking really fast and very frantic because something was happening. It turns out that he saw a group of coyotes and he was trying to warn me because of my dog. So having my hearing aids set to that environment really helped me catch up quickly and not asking him 3 different times, "Can you repeat that? I couldn't hear you," which would probably end up just frustrating him as he was just trying to help me. Typically after lunch, I have at least some time for myself before I have to jump into new meetings. There are 2 different things that I do in this time. One is I listen to my own tinnitus. If I feel and I hear that my tinnitus is starting to spike and go higher, I will typically listen to more sound therapy at this moment. Now for me, I have at least 3 different tinnitus sounds. One of them is a low frequency sound that can really drive me crazy sometimes. I can typically ignore the high frequency sounds pretty well, so I'm not worried about that. But if that low frequency sound is starting to spike up, I know it's gonna interrupt the rest of my day. So at this point, I sometimes choose different sound therapies that are targeting specifically that low frequency sound. And what I do is I can listen to it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, take a break, and then listen to it for another 5-10 minutes and take a break until my next meeting. This really helps me keep my tinnitus at a manageable level and prevent it from spiking up and interrupting the rest of my day. The second thing I'm going to say is that if I, for whatever reason, was not able to keep my tinnitus at a low level or at a normal level, and now it's really spiking up, if I have an important meeting or important social event, I will actually try to communicate with the right people to see if I can reschedule that. Forcing yourself into a meeting or a social event where your tinnitus is already spiking up is not gonna go well. Now I realize it's not always possible to reschedule event, and sometimes you don't have a choice and you just go through it and hope for the best. But if you have the ability to work with your clients or with your family to move an event when your tinnitus is already spiking up, it's definitely a better choice. Now if you're lucky like me and you also suffer from middle ear muscle syndromes, then typically for me the evenings is where I start to feel that, or when I go to sleep. So these are things like MEM, which is middle ear myoclonus, or TTTS, which is Tonic, Tensor, Tympani syndrome. These are basically problems with middle ear muscles that are spasming abnormally. As they spasm, they can create different sensation inside your ears that can be even worse than tinnitus. What I found for me, if I feel any signs that my TTTS is beginning to flare up, I will stop at that moment and try to relax. Now this could be by listening to sound therapy and just really staying relaxed and calm for a few minutes, letting my brain literally just kind of step back and relax. The other option is doing meditation or doing my exercise routine at that moment. For me, that typically stops TTTS from coming and I can focus on the rest of the evening. As soon as I lay down on my bed, that's where TTTS in my left ear starts spasming and going crazy. If something similar happening to you, then you can watch that video over here that will talk about how I manage my TTTS during the night. So this has been a quick rundown of a sample day for me. By using different sound therapies, using different applications on my computer and my phone, and using the application of the hearing aid of course, I am able to keep my tinnitus at a level that is not going to interrupt me, and I am able to stay productive and in control. It's really important though to identify where your tinnitus is about to spike up or your TTTS is about to spike up, and try to prevent that from happening, because if it does happen, it will most likely ruin the next few hours of your day. I try to keep this video very general without focusing on specific hearing aids or specific applications, but if you do have questions or feedback, please use the comments below. I always try to answer all your questions and I really try to learn from all your feedback. If despite all the techniques that we covered in this video and other videos, TTTS or tinnitus are overwhelming you and really interrupting your productivity and your life, then please check the video description below. I have a link there that you can use to schedule a free 45 minutes consultation with me and tell me all about your hearing challenges. Based on all of my experience and research, for tinnitus, hearing loss, TTTS and other conditions, I will help you create a personalized plan to get relief as soon as possible. I'll see you in the next video.